everyone. Welcome back to Dad Space, the podcast for dads by dads. And today we have an author on the show who's written a great book for all of you dads out there with a daughter. This is a must read. I'm going to tell you, it's a must read. You have homework. You all have homework to do. I have a daughter, so I'm very happy to have this conversation. The book is The Absent Father Effect on Daughters, Father Desire, Father Wounds, and the author is here. Susan Schwartz is on the podcast. I'm so excited to have her here. She was on my Living the Next Chapter podcast to talk about her journey as an author, but we wanted to have a conversation here with the dads to speak to you directly. So you have a chance to sit down with Susan. We're going to have a great conversation about our relationship with our daughters and how we can improve that. Susan, welcome to Dad Space. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Dave. It's good to be here and to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. For those who haven't heard your episode yet, they will, on Living the Next Chapter, can you please introduce yourself to our dads that are listening? Where are you in this big world of ours, first of all?
Oh, yes. I'm in Paradise Valley, Arizona, Phoenix, and I'm an analyst of Jungian psychology. So I focus on people who want to know themselves deeply, not superficial, not put on the Band-Aid, but let's figure out what is really going on inside of oneself. So we could say the father inside of himself and how he would deal with his children, in this instance, with his daughter.
Where did the idea originally come for your book, The Absent Father Effect on Daughters? Where did this all start?
Oh, yes. Well, it started certainly with other friends, colleagues, and my own research, realizing how little was written about fathers as participatory in their children's lives. It amazed me. Also, when I would ask people in their analytical work, where was your father in your life? I would get answers like, I never saw him. He wasn't around. Well, physically there, psychologically not. Introvert, I knew to not talk to him. Angry man. Not very many positive responses. Very little guidance, mostly mother, very classical. I was quite amazed. And then when I started speaking to other professionals about this, quite a few said, I never ask about the father. I said, you don't, but you're asking about life and how somebody is and what influenced them. That shows you how absent the attention to a good father has been. And even this morning, I was reading on fathers for my next book on fathers and sons, and how it describes a father: aggressive, disciplinarian, that makes the rules. I'm thinking this is 2024. Yeah. So the absence that I'm addressing is a psychological absence that psychology and analysis hasn't paid much attention to. Sporadically, not so much. Also, the physical absence and the emotional absence. And I think it's a sorrow for the fathers. But let us also expand it a little bit, because fathers can come in many forms now. So we could say father figure. And who embodies that? What are the qualities we want from a father? I don't think it's just authoritarian, disciplinarian, that kind of thing. But very little do you see relatedness, emotional. It's very often the father is second, mother is first. Okay, but maybe that's not always the case. Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's the absence right at the very beginning of life.
Mm-hmm. And I like, when I first saw the title of the book, I'm thinking absence in the sense of geographically absent, like not in the same city or state or country, like physically somewhere else. But I love that it's more than like a geographic absence. It's like you could be in the same home and still be an absent father. with your daughter, right? So you're talking about, there's so many different layers to this beyond maybe somebody thinking this is just somebody who's not living at home with their family. This is something different.
It is. And the emotional absence it has a different effect, but it is very powerful. It really leaves somebody left, the daughter left and alone. And what I find is interesting about the absence is how are we going to fill it? So I think it's up to us to fill what was absent in our lives and how we will do that in future relationships with ourselves and with other people as well. So again, it's quite many layered. Why I mentioned psychology and analysis is that if you think about it, Freud and Jung both had fathers that they were not well related to. They couldn't respect them. The father was kind of a distant figure. And from that, both of them developed different theories. But you could also see, like with Jung, he recorded no dreams of the father until his father died. And then he talked about two and wrote one essay on the father, just one. It was entitled The Destiny of the Father in the Life of the Individual, or the life of the individual as influenced by the father. It's like, really? Why did that happen? And from that, on those influences, has come a big history in psychoanalysis and psychology and analytical psychology that really has not attended to the significance of a related father. And I think it's the father who also is, in a way, deprived of the beauty of having a relationship.
So is there a generational piece to this? Like my father and his father, and we're just kind of emulating what we've seen demonstrated to us in the past?
I think we tend to do that automatically. We tend to repeat the very thing that we were exposed to, and we often tend to repeat the thing we couldn't stand.
Mm.
So if the father is distant emotionally, how do we learn to become close to ourselves emotionally? So he's modeling distance, or the father figure's modeling distance, and then that's how we treat ourselves. And generationally, where has the father been? So back, he's been eliminated from the family. He goes out, classically, he works, he comes home, I don't know what he does, but he doesn't interact. And it's still happening. So there's the problem. And the other thing is that, again, we could ask ourselves, why has there been so little attention? So I was speaking with a colleague who made an interesting comment and said, well, if there's so many absent fathers, is that why we are always looking for the ultimate leader of governments? Exactly. So we're looking beyond, in a way, beyond ourselves to make a leader strong, and therefore he's going to be the father of the story. But then look at how males are defined. They have to be strong. They have to be, lift weights, whatever they have to do. But they are not expected to relate their heart to their children. And that's what children need. There is another piece, and this applies to daughters, and I think it also applies to sons, from all the stories I've heard, that when the child becomes a teenager, so this is classically, again, generationally, what the girl gets. She gets from the father in a classical way, not with everybody. The skirt's too short. She shouldn't wear it. And really, the point is the father can't stand psychologically being drawn to his daughter, who's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, But we should be gorgeous our whole lives. But
Yeah.
we should.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know how to manage his feelings.
Right.
Same thing happens with the son. What the son usually ends up doing is having a fight with his father.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm bigger or stronger than you. You can't tell me what to do. So he becomes kind of this aggressive piece. She tends to recede and withdraw her energy. Again, I'm saying it in extremes.
Yeah.
These are extremes. But, we always learn from extremes.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the absent father and the effect on a daughter, what fills the gap for a daughter when her father is absent in her life? What is that thing that kind of fills that space that's not happening for her with her relationship with her dad?
I think that there are other people in life who fill it in. So the mom or the mother figure, how she's carrying this psychologically, how she's carrying the father in her mind. Like, does she love him? Did she respect him? Is she even still connected to him? So does the daughter get this kind of union in a psychological way? So there is that can happen. She also can get influenced by teachers who encourage the extended family, the people down the street. Children are very resourceful. They find support. And again, I'm not pitching for or saying that one needs a nuclear family. What one needs is a place of support and love and kindness and understanding and a encouragement of individuality so that the child does not have to replicate the parent, but become themselves, which might be very different and threatening to a father. So a father wants to ask a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of questions like, what are you thinking about? How are you really? Are you okay? How is your school? How are your friends? Through life, as a child grows, the questions are going to be different, but that there would be an engagement. It's engagement.
Wow. Okay, so from a daughter's perspective then, what is a message that fathers need to hear from a daughter's point of view on this bond? Because just going back for myself, when my daughter was small, our bond was so tight. I have one daughter and I have two boys. So the three kids, and my daughter's in the middle. So my wife was so happy when we had my daughter because she had a girl in the house finally. Yay, she could do all the hair and the stuff. But my daughter gravitated towards me for all of that, which made my wife go, what is going on here? So I was the ponytail king. I did all that stuff. So our bond was super tight when she was little, but I could see through high school and college age, that gap kind of building, right, as she's finding her way and all of that. So I'm kind of feeling a little bit like our relationship changed dramatically as she grew older. So I kind of felt the effect too as a father, going back to my daughter's relationship as well.
Of course you did. You felt the separation. You felt the sorrow and you felt the sadness. But there's also, if you were doing all those things with her, then she's going to carry her value inside of herself. There's something else I wanted to add too, which is that not all little girls want to have their hair done, and not all little boys want to wear pants. So again, we live in a very fluid world. So whatever the daughter in this case wants, can that be provided emotionally? So it's not just that you did her hair.
Right.
It was that you were with her.
Yeah.
And there's the problem of absence. So what can happen actually in the emotional absence? Kids get lost in school. They can't focus or concentrate. They get too involved in drugs and alcohol, crummy relationships. I mean, all kinds of things. And I'm not putting it all on the father at all, but these are some things that statistically they found. And again, it's interesting because a lot of the research is quite a bit based on a nuclear family. And I don't think we can really just go by that now.
Right.
There's a lot of single parents. Mm-hmm. What about how many single fathers raise daughters?
Right.
I don't know, but I'm going to look it up because I wonder how many. I don't think so many, but when they do, it's quite wonderful.
Yeah.
Right, because they can get all kinds of things from their fathers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So what is the impact on a daughter's identity in the absence of her father in the home?
You know, there's going to be a variety of things. So she realizes, we all realize that we've missed something. The question is how we're dealing with it. And who in her life recognizes what she's missed and who's going to help her get it. This also relates, I'm going to say this too, because I think it's important, relates to her body image. So it's not just her psychological fulfillment, it's also her body image. So when you were doing your daughter's hair, she was feeling that you were there with her. And I imagine appreciating who she was. And that gets translated as, I have a good body image. It can. But it can also, if there's an absence, as in the father is not emotionally related, daughters develop body issues. They get too heavy, they get too thin, they get disconnected from their physical self. And this is also a psychological issue. It's quite important how one can nourish oneself, take in the world, and have the confidence, it's confidence too, to be able to go out into the world. So that some people can, if the absence emotionally can spur on development, it can have the opposite as well, destructive. Just the other day, someone is talking about a father who teased. It's not really related. It's very distancing to tease. And then the daughter oftentimes excuses him. Oh, he did the best he could. I say, I don't think so. I don't think so, because he didn't learn to do otherwise than what was done to him. And we could also ask generationally, because you mentioned it, what is the effect of now on future generations? Yeah, exactly. We won't know, but we have a very strong effect. And fathers do as well. Yeah.
What do you think is one of the missing pieces that fathers have neglected in this relationship with their daughters?
Yeah, I think that they have not basically learned to know that they have a good effect on their daughters. And this hits them usually around puberty.
Right.
Oh, I have to stay away. The daughter translates it as, what's the matter with me? Mm-hmm. She doesn't realize there's nothing the matter with you. It's that your father can't handle whatever he can't handle, and he doesn't know what to do. So you said when your daughter was little, that is so common. The father is like connected when the daughter is little.
Right.
Okay, but then she grows and she's supposed to grow. And you're supposed to be sad that she's growing away from you and talk about it with her and reveal how you dream about her, how the daughter dreams about the father, and share those dreams. How many daughters and fathers do that?
Right.
Not.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I mean, and it tells both the daughter and the father what they feel unconsciously through the dream. Tells them what they're carrying. Some people have horrifying dreams of different males, and they say, "Oh yeah, that's my father."
Yeah.
They might dream of somebody like Putin.
Yeah.
And then you go, "Whoa, that's your father?"
Wow.
And so it opens, a whole world of absence, for sure. But how about when the father dreams of the daughter? How does he dream about her? Is he with her? Is he not with her? Does he appreciate her? Is he fighting with her? Can he manage that she's different from what he expected? So I would imagine that when your daughter was growing, you had an idea. I mean, we can't help it. You have an idea of how you want her to be. But what if she's absolutely different? Can you still support her? It's a very difficult thing.
Right.
It's really hard, but it's so much easier if you say, "Oh, this is so hard for me to accept that you want to do this because I don't want you to." But so much better if it comes out consciously.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so my wife, I'll kind of set this up. My wife and I just went on a trip recently. We were on a plane, and I was thinking about airplane and air travel. There's only so much fuel in an airplane, and they have enough fuel to get them from point A to point B. And there's a point in time when there's enough gas to go back, like you could turn around and go back, but not enough after you go past the point of no return. You have to continue to the end because there won't be enough gas to go back if you decide to change your plans. So in our relationship with our daughter, there is a point of no return in our relationship. Yes. How do we navigate that maybe if we're not prepared for some of these changes? Like your book's going to help us with this, but that relationship, what if we've crossed a line or a path or a part in our relationship where we feel like we've crossed something and we don't feel like we can bring it back to the way it was before as a dad and a daughter relationship? Is there a danger there?
Well, I think the danger is if it's not addressed, because your analogy is very well put. And if people will talk about it, have we lost each other? What do you need? This is what I need. I want to know what you need. Children of any age, I think we get kind of born always longing for a parent, a father figure. We just long for it. It's in the cells, right? Yeah. You get the sperm and the egg and you want them together. Yeah. And that grows inside of us. So if the lostness can be talked about, or I feel like you're gone, where did you go? Let's set up a time. Every week we'll go to lunch. We'll have a coffee. We will devote ourselves to a conversation very frequently so we can remain in contact. Not to grab that daughter, but to give her the support and for her to see who you are. Who is this father? What does he think about? What does he value? How many fathers really share what they value and what's important to them emotionally? I wonder. So is that setting the time aside to really talk together very seriously? And also, how about constructive play? Because play together, playful, even if you're taking a walk and it's playful and you can discuss and you go back and forth, creates life. And there's another piece as well. From the absence and from the not going back, I would ask, isn't there something creative that can be born. Yeah, something creative that can be born. I want to add as well, the reason I wrote about this is I think it's very crucial. And as I've said before, and I started researching Sylvia Plath. Now, I'm going to be a bit dim here because it's on a difficult side, but it's an extension of the dark side, or you could say in Jungian psychology, of the shadow. So this is what can happen on the worst case scenario, and then we can have the best case scenario, which of course is success and love and people who can talk with each other and be honest and hate each other, but also repair what's going on. Yeah. So Sylvia Plath wrote this absolutely wretched poem called Daddy. It is filled with vitriol, hatred, I can't stand you, on and on and on. And yet she writes in her journal how much she desired a father, how special it was. And he died when she was quite young, 8 or so. It wasn't just that he died. It was, he was actually a wretched disciplinarian, very, very rigid, didn't really know about play. As she grew in her life, she didn't really choose very good partners, and she killed herself. Yeah, exactly. And I'm saying that because there's an extension of how bad it can get. It doesn't always get that bad, but it can be. It's that crucial that we have a parent who is really present emotionally. I think if the father had been more connected when she was younger, and many other events happen in life which shape one. So it's not just the father, but in the issue of the father, if he had been more present emotionally, I think something different might have happened, but you never can tell. So again, there's a huge spectrum of what happens with absence. And the other piece about that story, which actually is important, is that she filled up several books with her poetry and her journals. So it's how do we fill it? Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty. How are we going to fill absence? That's our job.
So take us more behind the cover of the book as well, Susan. Like, what is your big wish for a father that's going to read this book? What are you hoping that they take away?
Well, I must say at the beginning, it's quite oriented on Jungian psychology. How I made it so it's in understandable language, because I don't think it's helpful for people to have to retranslate something. It should be, I can read this, I'll take this chapter and this chapter and this chapter. I don't want to read that one, but I'll read that one. And it can be like that. You can read any part that you want. What I really would like people to take away from it is hope. So from everything that I've said, it really was written with the basis of hope, not just for ourselves, but also for future generations, how we will define father without rigid, and make it a wider space, and really include the father figure in family life, in knowing that he's not just some guy sitting behind the paper and not paying attention, or sitting behind the computer. Forget about papers. There are none. Yeah. But but sitting behind the computer and ignoring the daughter or the children. So I think that's what's really important. Also a curiosity. So hope and curiosity. Curiosity about, how can I do my life differently than my father? How can I be creative? And so I give another example. A father that I've worked with, he's not the only one, but several, that they really, because they didn't have fathers who were active in the family or paid attention, they are very oriented to be better fathers. They don't want to repeat the pain they felt. They don't want to have that emptiness like in the core of their stomach. They don't want to have to be drinking too much or too many drugs or on pornography or this or that to fill the core. And they say, I see the problem and I want to repair it. And they are very eager to do that. And sadly, there hasn't been enough guidance. So I would hope that the book would give people hope, not despair, but hope and really a desire for the father to be more active with the daughter and really to talk with her. What do you need? Who are you? Let's talk. Let's be together. Let's play. Maybe they'll play football.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. What is the starting point to rebuild a relationship where absence has made things very difficult? Where do we start even to do that?
We start today with the honest approach of, we don't get along very well. So I'd like to repair it. I would like it if you want to repair it. Let's think about it together, how we could do that. So you don't have to wait till the right moment. There is no right moment. It's really right now. I would say also, I wonder if fathers could use their imagination and their wishes of how they want to be treated as well, or how they wanted to be treated when they were children. Because, we're all children, no matter how old we get. So we're all children. We want to be treated in a certain way. And we wouldn't want, when you mentioned your daughter, but and probably your sons too, as they get into adulthood, you're the parent, but you're also in a very different relationship.
Right.
It's a different respect. It's a different honoring, and it requires something else. And so why not address it, together? Let me also mention, because you mentioned your wife, so not unusual, how does the mother figure fit into the story with the father and the daughter and the father and the son? Certainly not as an intrusive element, certainly not as the only nurturer. I use that word purposely. How many fathers get to define themselves as nurturers, right? So here's where it's not to eliminate the mother or whatever she does, whatever she's doing. And it's not for a father figure to go, how can I help? It's more, this is me. This is my position. And I have a place that I want to honor. And I want to give to you. Of course, the other part is, what do you do when the daughter or the son says, forget it, I don't want to have anything to do with you? Yeah, that creates another story. But it also is like, well, as the parent, are you going to keep reaching out? Anyway, are you going to be really honest? Are you going to reach out? Are you going to send text messages? Are you going to wonder? Are you going to be as much as involved in your children's life as possible, even as they grow to adulthood, or they have their own children as well? How are you going to be active in all of their lives generationally? I think it's very important.
And I think it's to the father, Susan, that says, this all sounds great, Susan, but I, as a dad, have done a terrible job, and I feel like it's all my fault. And how do I navigate that?
Well, it probably isn't all their fault, is the one thing. If you're going to do guilt and self-blame, it's a very hard place to be. It's like hammering on your head. I didn't do good. I messed up my children. It was awful, on and on. Okay, where are you going to go from there? Admit it to your children. it wasn't so good when you were this or this or this. I was too involved in work, sports, other events. I didn't pay attention to you. I want to make up for it now. Is it possible? Let's try.
Yeah.
Let's invent new ways to be. I think it takes that creative edge and the ability to imagine a different father figure, not just one who will, oh yeah, this is the other one, talk with the sons about sports. And what do they talk with their daughters about? Yeah, I don't know. On both sides, there's absence. There you go. And what should the father do? He should have some belief in himself, faith in himself, and allow himself to stumble, fail, fall, and find success. I think it's perseverance. I think if you just keep trying, and there are some really hard situations that you can't repair. That's honest. Some you can't, but it's not about blame. It's about a million different events that happen. Kids get influenced by their peers, this, that, all kinds of things. So I would hope that fathers would be able to glean from the book a way to get through. I would say also, it's interesting. It's mostly daughters that contact me. It's not too.
Really?
It's not too many. Yeah, just one. In the book is 4 years old or so. Man contacted me by email and said, I've been a poster boy for the absent father. So, very honest. And I am trying very much with my daughters now to make it better. But I realize I was absent. Fathers have not contacted me and find the information threatening as if it's blame. And it isn't. It's just, this is what has happened over the generations. How can we correct it?
Wow. Okay. A big portion of the audience of Dad Space is actually a female audience that comes to the show, which I find exciting that they're here. So hi, everyone that's listening. I'm anticipating some of the women that come to the show are maybe single mothers. Dad is gone, he's out of the picture, and they're balancing both roles in the home, and they're picking up little pieces of our conversation that they can take home with them for their children. Can you speak to the moms that are listening to the podcast and how your book could even help them in their relationship with their children?
I think so, for sure. And I'm going to repeat the same thing, which is single mothers are not to be blamed. They can't really do both roles.
Right.
They could do, but what they can do that's most of value is their honest selves, their honest self, as well as be very introspective and reflective about their own feelings about whoever was that father. Because some are very upset, some are very angry, some are very depressed, some are rejecting and rejected, some are left because of death, because of war. There's all kinds of reasons why single mothers are single mothers. But not to take on, I'm not good enough because there is no father here. Because again, fathers can appear in many ways. The teacher, the one down the street, the extended family, the people in some religious organization or any organization. And to be really honest with children about whoever that father figure was, even if he was a bad guy, to talk about it. And if he was a good guy, divorce is huge in this country and probably in many places in the Western world. How do you deal with separation? How do you deal with death and loss, but not blame? Because blame is a dead-end street. It's like guilt. Where do you go? nowhere. So this is to honor one's psychology and one's being and what you can pass on to your children and realistically what you cannot. Because single mothers are not supposed to be mothers and fathers. You can't do it.
No.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So be realistic is what I would say. And give yourself a lot of room to grow and develop.
Susan, it's fascinating talking to you. I feel like my brain got a little bit bigger just listening to you talk and walk us through this. And I love how you use story as well. You know, it's one thing to come on and talk facts and figures and, you know, go through that. But the fact that you can put story to this as well, I think it really kind of solidifies for the listener and myself how we can apply this, right? I like how you do that. Your approach is great.
Thank you. Can I just add one other thing?
Please.
Because I like quotes, and because I think we gain our wisdom, etc., from many, many places in the world. So this is from Sartre in 1943. And I think this is also key for the absence and why it's so important to pay attention to it so it can eventually get filled. So he writes, I now exist as myself for my unreflective consciousness. It is this eruption of the self which has most often been described. I am myself because somebody sees me. So really, I think what he's saying is the value and the importance of being seen. And that's not just looked at. It is appreciated, it is respected, it's known internally. And this helps fill absence if you're really seen. And if you're not seen, absence is painful, awful. You can't see yourself either very well.
Wow. Amazing. Susan, I have your website up while we're chatting the whole time here, but take us through the website. I know the book is available through there as well, but take us through your website so people can connect with you after listening to our conversation and they want to know more about you and follow your journey as an author with all the new books coming in the future. But take us through your website. Yeah,
I will. Thank you. The website is www.susanschwartzphd.com. On it, you can't buy the book.
Okay.
You have to buy it on Routledge, the publisher, or Amazon, any online deals. You can do that. And actually, on the website, I have a lot of papers that I've put up on fathers and daughters, or several there. Not yet fathers and sons, but also on academia.edu and ResearchGate. I have papers, so they're free, and you can look at those as well.
Excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of great articles and everything, a lot of great resources on the site, which is excellent. You have all your other encounters on podcasts and being interviewed as well, which is great. Lots of great resources here.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So parting words for a father as we wrap up, Susan, where do we go from this conversation? What is our first action step that we can take today in with this absence that we're dealing with our daughters? Where do we go?
How about asking oneself a question? Have I been absent? How have I been absent? And how do I want to fill it? I've repeated this several times. So those are 3 questions. Along with, I can fill it. I'm able. I can do it. I'm good. Again, one doesn't want to get down in negativity, but use what isn't all right to become better. It's filling the psyche. Yeah.
Wow. Excellent, Susan. I love it.
Thank you.
It's great.
Thanks.
Everyone, all the information for Susan will be in the show notes. As always, please go to her website. When you buy her book, please leave an amazing review as well. It helps other people to connect with the author and to see why you value this book and how it helped you. It really does help other people to connect with the author and the book. So please, when you buy it, that's my ask of you to do that and to show kindness to Susan for putting out great resource for you and your family. So to those listening, please do that. Susan, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being on my Living the Next Chapter podcast as well. To have you on twice, I feel twice as blessed to have you here. So thank you for making time to be on Dad Space.
Well, and thank you for being so open and receptive to my thoughts and my ideas as well. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Everyone, all the information is always in the show notes. Susan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening to Dad Space. Thanks for hanging out to the end of the podcast. That's a great sign to wherever you're listening to this podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, fill in the blank, that this was a good podcast to send people to. So simply by listening to this point of the podcast, you're helping the show grow. So good on you. Thanks for helping us grow Dad Space. If you want to help us fill our cups over at Dad Space, head over to dadspace.ca. Dadspace.ca, simple website, right? Dadspace.ca. You can fill up our coffee cup, which helps us then to keep moving forward with the podcast, and use our Buy Me a Coffee link over at dadspace.ca. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for coming back. And thank you for sharing, because the more dads we can help, the better. We're all here to help each other grow in community. That's what it's all about. And without you, podcast is pointless. There's no reason to do any of this. So you being here means everything. See you at dadspace.ca. Take care.